Okay, I'm doing another tag video. I am so glad I finally got to this because I got tagged by two people at this point for this. I got tagged by Literary Me and Amy of Hearthridge. So thanks for tagging me. This was kind of fun, trying to go through all my books, trying to figure out from what I've read what would suit these answers. So this is the coffee and books tag. I've seen this around. Other people I've seen answering this. And it's really fun. It's cute because, a lot of people love to drink things. And of course, my favorite drink is hot chocolate. So that works. And I should have had a hot drink with me while I did this, but I don't. So Black Coffee. Name a series that's tough to get into, but has hardcore fans. Right away, I thought of Anne of Green Gables, and I'm gonna just say, I've known so many people that say, I love Anne of Green Gables, and then you say, oh, which book is your favorite? They go, I've only read Anne of Green Gables. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, well, that's like one of the best books in the series, so it makes sense. I feel like so many people have not continued this series, and that's totally fine because some of the books aren't that great. Even though it's one of my favorite series to read, this series, I have some lower ratings for some of these books, and a lot of them are just like 3-star, 3-star, 3-star. I have only like really 2, maybe 3 books that have a higher than 4-star or a 4-star rating for this series. It is not easy to get into because there is a lot of gossip talked in it. There are characters that change, and then there are ones that they just feel like they're little collections of stories of other people's lives instead of Anne's life, while she'll be scattered here and there in the other books. So I can understand why this is tough for people to want to get into because you're like, but where's Anne? Where's Anne? Peppermint Mocha. Name a book that gets more popular during the winter or festive time of year. And right away, I thought of a great book that I've read called An Ivy Hill Christmas. Now there is a series for this and it's Tales from Ivy Hill. I have only read this one though, so I don't know how they're all interconnected, but this is a really great Christmas story. And when I was reading this, it felt like I was reading an older book. It's about Richard Brockwell. He doesn't get along with his father, and he's been a bit of a bad boy. He goes home to Christmas. He was raised in a very nice environment. We hear a lot of the backstory of his life, and he has some bitterness and even was pressured to marry at one point, but he doesn't want to just get married for any old reason or just to be married. He wants to actually have a good marriage. All about him trying to move forward from his past. Hot Chocolate, what's your favorite children's book? I've probably said it before, but The Wind in the Willows. This is the first book that I remember really getting into. My brother bought me a beautiful copy of this when I was in 2nd grade for Christmas, and it had beautiful illustrations, and I love frogs. Mr. Toad being an amphibian, I love to read the stories of animals and how they lived their lives. I got really into this book when I was a child, and I just don't remember so many books at that point making me want to read. This was like the one that made me excited about reading, and it was a big book. It was probably the biggest book I had read at that time. Double Shot of Espresso. Name a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. All right, so this might be a tough one for some people to read, but this is just called Slave. Mende, she grew up in the Nuba Mountains, which is in Sudan. So it's during the whole situation with the Sudanese people and the army coming in, forcing people to be child slaves into being soldiers. So when she was 12, she was kidnapped through a raid in her village, and she eventually had to become a live-in maid. So learning about her childhood and then pushing her into adulthood and the awful things that she had to go through. Her story is really amazing and sad. It's also very good. This one was one of my favorite books that I'd read that year. Is one of my 5-star reads. So definitely I love this story. Starbucks. Name a book that you see everywhere. Everyone's reading it. Like everyone's reading it. Even my sister-in-law is reading it right now. I see it constantly. Everyone's reviewing it. Everyone is reviewing it on booktube, and I can't escape it. And I feel like one day I'm going to read it too, just because it's like, why is everyone so into this book? And that is The Night and the Moth. I don't know much about it. I have heard reviews. The story seems kind of interesting, so I'm intrigued. The Hipster Coffee Shop. Give a book by an indie author a shout out. So I wanted to give someone a shout out that actually came from YouTube, and she loves books so much that she now runs a bookstore. I have been a patron of hers even, and she doesn't really post too much on her actual YouTube, just like on her Patreon, but she wrote an amazing book, and she's been writing like children's stories that she hopes will get published at some point, and that is The Cottage Fairy Companion is the name of her book, which I read back in 2022 around December time. It's about Paola Merrill. She talks about her life in her cottage in the woods somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I can't remember which state, but she calls it the Valley. And she gives recipes, she gives ideas of what she does to decorate her home. But the way that she words things, like she is very poetic, and just the way she words things, she has a lot of thought in her things that she talks about. So I want people, if you are interested in like cottagecore or even about people living simply or being crafty, but also being book lovers, she's a very sweet woman. And she had a baby a little over a year ago. And so that's really why she took a break from YouTube. Oops, I accidentally got decaf. Name a book that you were expecting more from. Right away, I'm going to say Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. My husband listens to Cal Newport's podcasts on a regular basis. He also read this book after I had DNF'd it. So I've heard this. So as a minimalist, a lot of people go to Cal Newport because he became a minimalist pretty later on. He's like a little bit newer. But this book, I was just expecting him to talk about just being slow, about having the intention behind what you do, but instead this is more about work. I don't have a job except for at home, and pretty much the stuff that he was talking about I can't relate to, or I'm working at home, not really dealing with people. I am slow productive as it is in my home as a stay-at-home mother, housewife, homemaker, and I don't have burnout because I don't let myself get to that point. So I think that was my problem, but I just heard so many great things about this book, even by other homemakers. And I was like, yes, I can't wait to read it. Yeah, I couldn't even get through a couple chapters. All right, Perfect Blend. Name a book or a series that was both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. For a second, I was like hesitating, like, what could I put for this? And then it came to me, a book that comes to my mind on a regular basis. And I think it's because I've mentioned my late best friend. She used to read a lot. And she used to tell me of books, and then she would say, oh, you have to read it. And then I'd read it and we'd talk about the books. And she was like pretty much the only person I talked about books with on a regular basis. And I don't have that anymore. This book, she adored this book. I can tell why. And as someone who is a Christian mother who homeschooled her kids and who really loved her children, this is like a journal in a way, but it's so sad and it is so beautiful and loving, and it's all about like motherhood, and it's called Stepping Heavenward. And it is an older book, but yeah, it comes to my mind on a regular basis, and it wasn't like the most amazing book, but this, it just had that bittersweetness because there was such beauty in it, but there were also these sad moments. But the way that the main person in the book described how she dealt with these things was like, wow, what strength. What an amazing person to come through this in the way she did because of how she decided to focus on God to give her strength. So yeah, that one. An Irish Pub Song by the Rumjacks. So I actually looked up the Rumjacks and the Irish Pub Song, and it was very good, very much like a Dropkick Murphys type of song, very like punk Irish, that like you know, like, okay, maybe you don't know. Well, I grew up around that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. So this is what the question is. Okay, like everyone's going to know who the Rumjacks are. No, you're not going to know unless you look them up. Name a book that's misunderstood. So just like maybe punk rock and Irish music combined might be misunderstood. I'm guessing that's what the meaning of this is. The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, or even Spark Joy by Marie Kondo. So I have like a few things about minimalism in this list. So I've been a minimalist since longer before all these books came out. Marie Kondo, she's like thought to be a minimalist when she has never claimed that. She is not like one, but she is in a way too, depending on how you look at things. But people, they don't understand minimalism, and they don't understand decluttering, and they don't understand why people would want to get rid of their stuff. She has this thing where she's like, oh, if you feel your clothing, you have to say thank you when you say goodbye to things. There's a spirit in everything. And that's like her upbringing. You have to remember, in Japan, there is practice of Shintoism. That religion is very much that there's a spirit in everything, and mixtured Buddhism, which to her, she's letting go of these spirits. And so it's a little awkward. I get that. Like I'm not woohoo about like that kind of stuff, but I can respect her. And I take it with a grain of salt because that's not something that I want to mess with. She gives such good tips Now, the first book, I didn't really care for the first book that much, but I do know it's misunderstood because people are like, what do you mean you always wanted to tidy things? Like, she talks about her own life and her own upbringing and what it meant for her. She's just telling her own story, but people, they make it seem like, oh, this is like a pamphlet for what you have to do. And she doesn't say that. She says how she just always loved organizing things. So she's an organizer and a declutterer. She is not a minimalist. She comes from Japanese culture where they have like just tatami mats and things stored in their closets and no furniture really out. And I think that's lovely. Spark Joy, though, is an amazing book, and I love that. And that one is step by step. She explains about her process of decluttering, and it is great. But a lot of people don't understand the upkeep. And that's what I've noticed over the years. They don't know how to keep doing it. Instead, they keep bringing so much into their home. They don't know how to constantly be aware of their own things. I'm a certified life coach, and specifically for decluttering would be like, if you want to hire me, please do. I would love to have sessions with you. We could go through this stuff. Send me messages. I love Marie Kondo, and she is definitely misunderstood. Her Spark Joy thing, it's like, I get that. Like, I feel the same way. When you have something, it should be like, wow, I love this thing, or like, it has a purpose for me. I think that's great. But a lot of people are like, ooh, you're crazy, lady. My spatula doesn't spark joy for me. They're like making fun and they're not understanding where she's coming from. I think that's why this one is a misunderstood book. I'm sorry, I went through like a little thing there. So yes, thank you so much for tagging me, and I'm gonna tag a few people too. See what their answers are. Maybe they're gonna think something differently, probably because my books are just all over the place. Anyway, thank you so much. Have a great day, and bye.